Hey guys, we're smack bang on the beach at the Billabong house, North Shore, Hawaii, right in front of Pipeline, and I'm just about to interview the man himself, Gerry Lopez. Many say the king of Pipeline back in the day, smoothest man in the world. I'm going to get him on the Occ-Cast, so you check it out.
God, there's too many jellyfish.
It's such a wonderful ride. It's such a wonderful ride. It's no fool's paradise. It's such a wonderful ride.
Thank you, Gerry.
Thanks, Occy. It's good to be here.
Yeah,
Always.
you're fresh off the plane from Oregon?
Pretty much.
Pretty
yes.
much. How's the snow over there?
Actually, the snow's not very good.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's really nice being here.
Yeah, right, for sure. Back in Hawaii, you grew up here. You grew up in Honolulu.
I did.
And tell us about that, growing up in Honolulu.
Well, it was a wonderful time to grow up. In the 50s, in the early 60s, it was still a very local place.
Not very touristy back then.
I mean, it was in the process,
Yeah.
but you know, Hawaii didn't become a state till 1959.
Okay.
And
The state of America. Yeah, obviously.
it
didn't become a state till 1959.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
a U.S. territory,
Okay.
which is a little different distinction. But
Yeah.
you know, once statehood came, then things began to happen a little quicker. But it was still a great, you know, a really great spot to grow up. I mean, Waikiki, and then of course out here on the North Shore.
Yeah.
We used to call it the country back then. It was really special.
Yeah. It's still the country.
It still
They
is
still
the
call it
country.
the country.
Yeah.
Hasn't changed a lot. I mean, since I've been coming anyway, I'm sure. What age would you have started coming out to the country?
Probably 12, 13 years
12, 13?
old. Yeah, you know,
Surfing?
we'd start at like little inside Haleiwa, or then Chun's Reef was like the first big step, and you know, Sunset, and especially out here at the Pipeline, we're a little ways down the line. But you know, we were here and we had a look, and took a few years to work up our nerve.
To surf it?
Yes.
Yeah. So how old would you have been when you surfed real Pipeline?
Well,
First
yeah,
time?
I was already, you know, 18 or
18,
19.
yeah.
Yeah.
Was who were the men out there then? When did it first get surfed?
No, you know,
Not too
1961.
Okay.
Phil Edwards
Bill Edwards. Yeah.
was the first, and then the next year, the next winter, the 62-63 winter, John Peck and Butch Van Aertsdalen kind of went head to head out here, and
Okay.
they were the ones that really kind of started the whole thing going.
Yeah. Like the wave is really rideable.
Yeah, and really they were pushing each other too, and you know, so that, I mean, Butch got the first deep tube ride and became Mr. Pipeline, but you know, I think actually John Peck had a more lasting legacy because he was backside, and he was only about 18 years old at the time, and he had a beautiful style, and he had a real great technique. You know, he would grab the rail on the takeoff, and there was that great poster of him which hung on my wall for years of, you know, crouched low, grabbing rail, tucked in tight, and you know,
What
it was
kind of a board?
well, it was on a longboard, it was
Yeah.
a big old Mal,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well,
you
wait,
know,
how do you do that?
that was 15 years or more before Bird Milona came out and showed us his version of the John Peck, which they call the Pig Dog,
Pig Dog
which
now,
has
yeah.
become the standard of backside tube riding.
Cool, yeah, that's what they do.
But it started with John,
Yeah.
and yeah, I just spoke with him a couple of days ago. Just
you?
to, he doesn't remember much, you know. If there's
really?
anybody more firmly rooted in the here and now, it's John Peck.
Yeah.
You know, so he's kind of right here.
Yeah.
What happened? Yeah, that happened, you know,
Yeah.
but he doesn't think about that too much.
Yeah, right. Did you ever get a chance to surf rights and try that, the Pig Dog? around the world?
Oh yeah, I mean, not much though.
Not much?
No,
Not a whole lot of rights
yeah. I like going left.
You like going left?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that ride out there always kind of ended
Back door.
badly.
Ends badly. I can't say I'm very good out on that
Yeah.
back door either. But you became king of the pipeline through the late 60s, early 70s, through the 80s. You won it twice in a row. How was it back then? Was there must have been a pecking order by that stage, and you were pretty much on the top of that pecking order.
Well,
Was it crowded?
This would have been the late 60s, early 70s. Pipeline wasn't a real popular spot. Sunset Beach was the spot.
Yeah.
BK was the man. And
Barry Canopui.
this
Yeah.
was, kind of an afterthought. I mean, there were the days when it was really, really good out here that a lot of people would come. But on the average days where, there's just a couple of good waves at Pipe, no one here at all. And, there was a small group of us. Jock went and joined the Army in 1970, so
Jock Sutherland.
Jock Sutherland was kind of our leader at that
Yeah.
point in time, and then off he went. And, we kind of fumbled around, started to have, a little bit of success, but only because I think the surfboard development and design had gotten to a point where we were finally able to make surfboards for ourselves that actually started to work really well out here.
And what were they? I know they were single fins, but they were refined.
It was just
How
a
big?
real, sleek pintail single fin that.
Beautiful looking. Like the plan shape's just epic, eh?
Yeah, I mean they still look good.
They still look good.
But they worked well out
They
here.
work well, yeah. And what size would that have been?
It would have been an 8-foot board.
8 foot.
Yeah.
Nice and easy to get into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, back then it was never that easy, but
No.
and then you guys came along and were riding much smaller boards,
Yeah.
and that was really an eye opener because I never thought that it was possible on this wave. But that's the nature of surfing, is that it's constantly in a state of evolution and
Yeah.
evolving, and the skill level is just advancing all the time. The guys are getting so much better in the things that they're able to do. And now you look at what's going on and just go, my God, I never would have ever considered paddling out on a board that small.
Totally agree. I mean, we came in with like 7.6s and then got down to like 7.2s and stuff, but now it's like 6.8s or something, or
Yeah.
6.6s, or even 6.4s.
Yeah, that's a
crazy.
big board to
For them.
the surfers today.
It really is. You were a state champion when you were 14, and then you had all the success at Pipeline. Did you ever think about branching out and going on tour like the rest of them? Like the guys would come to your zone, like a Rabbit or someone. Rabbit being probably one of the most competitive guys around, your era. But did you ever think of following that, or did you?
Well, there wasn't much of a tour
Yeah.
back then. This would have been the 1970s, and the Rabbit and Sean, Michael, Thompson, Ian and PT, they all showed up here, and they were young, pretty brash, and
Yeah.
they had the idea that somebody should pay them to go surfing, and they should be professional surfers. And for us, we were kind of old school, and we thought, well,
Doesn't
nobody's
sound
going to
good.
do that. I mean, that's the idea is absurd.
Yeah.
And they were right, of course, and we didn't know.
Yeah.
But we were, Barry Kanaipuni and I, Reno Abalera, Rory Russell, we all, representing Hawaii. Jeff Hackman, of course, he was kind of the best of the bunch competitively.
Yeah.
Supported the beginnings of what would have been the pro tour back then. And basically it was just, going over to Oz and surfing a couple of contests, having a good time.
And that was pretty much it. I was in Hawaii, right?
That was it, yeah.
Did you go to Oz?
A lot.
But
Yeah.
you did, yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
You loved it,
Yeah.
hey? Oh, cool.
We all did.
Yeah.
You know, Barry Kanaipuni too. I
Yeah.
mean, he would come, and you know, nobody thinks of him as a contest surfer, but you know, he was very supportive. I mean, he was there all the time, every year. None of us did very well. I mean, Reno did, Jeff did,
Yeah.
but the rest of us, you know, we just kind of went.
Yeah, and had fun.
Yeah.
We were, yeah. And the waves are nothing like here either.
Well, that was the hardest
That's
part. You know, that was. I remember one. I think we were maybe in Monavale or someplace,
Oh.
and you know, PT was just lit up about
Competing. And the
competing
waves are like
that
this.
day, and the waves were like 2 feet, and you know, I remember thinking, at home, I don't think I'd even consider going surfing on a day like this,
Yeah.
you know, and here we are, you know, trying to surf for money, seriously surf
Yeah.
for money, and I went, wow.
Hard to get your head around today when it's
Yeah,
2 foot.
yeah,
When you
just-
surf like Pipeline every day and you come and see that.
We were spoiled, you know,
Spoiled.
we always surfed pretty
Beautiful,
good waves.
Big waves,
and,
yeah.
and if the waves weren't good, then we did something else.
Yeah.
So,
So Gerry, tell me about the event that you run once a year, and it's a big wave event, but it's not in the water, it's not in the ocean.
you know, snowboarding has been a big phase in my life lately. We've been up in Oregon for 25 years. And the wind blows the snow as it's falling on the ground and creates these beautiful wave shapes. I mean, incredible. You know, you get up after a fresh snowfall in the morning and you can't wait to get up there and see what the wind's done, create these waves of snow.
Wow.
And over the years, I've named a lot of these because they're always in more or less the same spot, even though they're always a different shape every day, after surf spots. And so the marketing director at Mount Bachelor had an idea one day as we were riding, and I go, oh, you know, that's Alamo right there. I named that after Ala Moana. You know, that's Second Reef Pipeline
Really?
up there. And he's going,
Really?
he goes, why don't we have an event and, you know, riding these things? And I went, well, you could probably do that. And so at first the idea was to have it in these naturally formed ones,
Yeah.
wind lips they call them. But that was too hard. So what we did was we went and we built waves out of snow, and we judge it like a surf contest.
Wow.
And it's really fun.
Really fun. So you're just judging turns, big calves.
Yeah, and just, you know, everybody has a good time, and
Yeah.
it's a great community event. And I have a special pro surfer division, I call it, where the surfers that want to come, you know, that are mostly surfing and, you know, get to snowboard just a few times a year, aren't having to go up against guys that are snowboarding the whole
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
So they have their own division, and you know, Shane Dorian came one
Yeah.
year. He had a great time. Matt Neal, Ian Walsh has come a few times.
Okay.
Every year we try and get surfers to come, but surfers are surfers. You know, if the surf's good, they're going surfing.
Yeah.
So it's always that's the toughest part of the event.
To get them. It's in April, you said.
It's mid-April,
Yeah.
and it's at Mount Bachelor.
Yeah,
and
Bachelor.
if we could get you up there, it
love
would
to.
be giant.
I'd love to. Oh, book me in, please.
We could
Put
do
it on
a
the
podcast from
We
there.
can- I heard a rumor that you picked the wave of the winter. Is that true? Or
I
you
do.
have?
I'm
You
one
do?
of the judges.
Oh, you're one of the judges. Okay.
On the Surfline panel that reviews all the entries for the Wave of the Winter,
Okay.
which is really a great thing, you know,
Yeah.
because it's just another thing that the surfers can kind of go for. You know, the contests, there's so many surfers nowadays, and the contests they're small, you know, not everybody gets a chance, but the Wave of the Winter, you know, you go out there and you get that wave, you got a good chance of having a nice payday.
Yeah.
And there's some really great entries.
Yeah.
And, you know, if it's a good year like last year, I mean,
Pipeline.
1 month we had like over 100 entries, you know, and that's a lot of
Stuff to look at.
yeah, to review,
look
you
at,
know, and
yeah.
you only choose each month 10 guys, you know, and then at the end, it's November, December, January, and February. Then you look at them all again, the top 10 of each month, and then you choose, you know, the top one out of that.
Yeah.
And
Not easy.
it's not easy, but you know, we got a good panel of judges: me, Pancho, Sullivan, Sean Briley, and
Oh, cool.
and who else? I forget.
That's all right. Yeah, one more question. You're good at so many things: surfing, snowboarding, shaping, and probably so many others. Is there anything that you're not good at or you can't do?
Lots of things.
Lots of things. You can multitask.
Yeah, well, remember what my wife tells me to do. I'm not very good at that, but she reminds me a lot. I'm trying to get better. No, you know.
I always get done for communicating, not communicating enough.
Yeah. And I'm hard of hearing these days, so you know, I hear, "Can you turn the TV down, please?" a lot. You know.
Why did you end up leaving the North Shore when you had the beautiful house on the beach at Pipeline and you made the move? I think you moved to Maui first, did you?
Well, in 1973, I moved to Maui. Around that time, Billy Hamilton moved to Kauai, and
Was
you
it
know,
crowds or?
it was beginning to become a little crowded, but it's, you know, we always would come back for the winter season, especially for the events that were here.
Yeah.
Sunset, you know, the Pipeline events. But the lifestyles on Kauai and Maui were, you know, it was a little easier.
Very more
Yeah.
laid back.
Yeah, I mean, Oahu obviously is the nicest island. It has the best
Surf,
thing,
yeah.
but it also has the most people. And, you know, both Kauai and Maui were very rural, and they got some great waves there too. And, you know, it was an easy trip to come back here.
Yeah.
I mean, it was no big deal. And I liked it. I liked commuting.
Yeah.
I never really spent any time living here on the North Shore that much. I mean, I built that house at the Pipeline in 1980,
Yeah.
but never really lived there. We just
Never really lived there.
I was a visitor.
You were.
Yeah.
Visitor in your own house.
Yeah. And you know, I'd come for the surf,
Yeah.
and then I'd leave
Yeah.
and go back home to Maui.
Yeah. You fell in love with snowboarding,
I did.
and is that why you moved to Oregon?
Yes.
Yes.
Originally.
Yeah.
And that was 25 years ago.
25 years ago.
Yeah, we're still there.
Still there.
Yeah.
You love it. You snowboard only when on good powder days, or pretty much every day.
Yeah, I've gotten pretty spoiled to become what they call a powder snob.
Powder snow.
But you know, snowboarding is something that you can do more regularly than surfing. Surfing, you got to wait. You know, if you're waiting to surf good waves,
Yeah. You gotta wait.
you got to wait a long time sometimes. Snowboarding, the snow falls on the ground, it stays there. It's there the whole season. You can go every single day, and I like that regularity.
Yeah.
And you know, I've always had this kind of obsessive personality, and these other sports have come along. You know, windsurfing was one of them, and I got really heavily into that living on Maui.
Yeah.
And snowboarding was the same. You know, now it's kiteboarding. It's really funny because, and stand-up paddling as well. Each
Stand-up
one of
paddling,
these
yeah.
sports have, for me anyway, and I think I've seen a trend in these sports, have every time brought me back to surfing.
Yeah.
To, you know, I think the real true sport that my true passion is surfing.
Is surfing.
But I have to go through these phases of embracing these
Other sports.
other,
To come back.
yeah, and
When did you last surf?
just a few days ago
Whereabouts?
in a river in
In a-
Oregon.
A river in Oregon?
Yeah, we have a
A
standing wave in the river.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, and it's actually okay.
It's okay?
Yeah,
Wow, way.
it'll do, you know.
It'll do.
But before that, I spent most of the month of November in Mexico.
Mexico.
Yeah, I was mostly
Surfing?
going right, but
Going right.
that was all right. I'll
Yeah.
take it any way I can get it these days.
These days.
Yeah.
You're up in the snow, and then in the winter you're looking for those big storms. Kind of like when you're looking for a big storm to create surf, it creates snow.
The same storms.
Same storms.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's, you know, a trend that I started to become aware of, that when the North Shore is not having a great surf season, when it's stormy and kind of like this, you know, northerly a little bit, northerly swells,
Yeah.
northerly winds, rainy, cloudy. Generally, that's
There's snow.
pretty good up there for snow. Right now, the West Coast has got this big high pressure blocking
Yeah.
cell,
Blocking
right,
your storms?
and it's blocking all the storms that we should be getting. That should be making snow, and this is the reason California's, you know, fighting these terrible fires right now.
They've got terrible fires, haven't
Yeah.
they? We get that on the news in Australia. It's wild.
It's pretty bad, you know, and the reason is because this high pressure cell is not
Okay.
allowing those, you know, that moisture from the low pressures to come in and put down a little precipitation.
Yeah. Well, let's get away from that, and we'll go back to your years that you were on top of the world winning pipes, 1972 and 73. Can you explain? Can you remember the day? It must have been the same as when I competed. I think it was just a one-day event, just a invitee contest only, right? The top
Yes.
top 20 riders or something? Or how
Well,
many?
actually, you know, the original Pipe Masters started with just 6 guys.
6 guys,
And actually 5, because I missed it.
Yo, you missed
the
one.
first year, yeah.
How did you
Well,
miss
we
one?
came to the beach, and,
Yeah.
and you know, Corky was parked over in the empty lot that's now the beach park.
Yeah.
And I walked out and had a look, and it was kind of a northerly swell. It wasn't very good. The
Yeah.
wind was a little from the north, and I went, oh, they're not going to have a contest today. I walked back. Corky was reading the newspaper, you know. I go, what do you think? He goes, looks pretty bad out there. I go, yeah. So off I went, and
Back to town?
I did. Ended up having the event, you know, and they didn't have cell phones, and
No.
you know, there was no surfline.com, there was
No.
no nothing, you know, and that night I watched on TV the news, you know, that the Pipeline Masters went on, and,
Oh, no.
and you know, Fred got there and he looked at it, he goes, okay, this is it. This is the only day we're going to get. We're going to run the event. Where's Lopez, you know? And Corky goes, well, he was here, but he left. And Fred looked out, and Mike Armstrong was out surfing. He goes, well, who's that out there? Well, that's Army, you know. Well, go out and ask him if he wants to be in the contest. So they had 6, you
They
know.
had 6.
And the next year, I don't know if they had 6 or maybe they had 12, but
Okay.
the first few years, that was it. It
That
was
was it.
6 invitees, and then it was a one heat deal. It was,
Yeah.
you know,
But what about the one you won in 72? How many?
I think that was 6
That was-
as well.
wow.
Yeah.
How big was the surf?
It was a nice, you know, I mean, decent 8-foot day.
Okay.
And the reason it was such a great event was because ABC Wide World of Sports was filming it.
Oh, they covered it. Yeah.
And you know, so they came down with their whole crew and shot the event, and it was easy for them, one heat.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Just waited for the best part of the day and just held it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was it Fred Hemmings back then running that?
Yeah, it was Fred and
It was
Randy.
Fred.
Yeah,
Fred and Randy.
It was the whole thing was their idea. It was a, you know, it was a great idea. I mean, Fred had some vision back then for trying to make the sport, the competitive side of it, a little more professional, and he really kind of laid the groundwork for everything that's happening today. you know, and Randy was the one who did all the work.
Yeah.
Randy did the heavy lifting, but
Yeah.
it was together, you know, that they pretty much created this event here.
They have, yeah. And
Yeah.
it's huge now.
And now it's the most
It's the biggest
prestigious, biggest
event in the
event
world.
in the surfing world.
It is. And 73, the same? Was it the same size? Bigger?
Yeah, it was
Bigger?
kind of like that. And I think
Understand.
that year there was 12 guys.
Oh,
in
12
it.
guys.
Yeah. So there was
So,
two
yeah,
heats and
two
a final.
heats and a final?
Yeah.
Okay. How big was it that year?
I think it was about the same.
About the same, 8
yeah,
feet?
8, maybe, you know, some bigger sets.
Yeah. That's big. I mean, for us, it's probably 10. But
Yeah, it was.
do you remember
know,
who was in the final? Not
I don't
really.
have a clue.
Sorry. I
Yeah.
don't really remember who was in my final too.
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I remember.
Remember
It was
me,
Ronnie Burns,
Ronnie Burns, yeah.
Nicky Nielsen,
Yeah.
maybe Marvin,
Foster, yeah, could have
Yeah.
been, or maybe a Max Medeiros.
maybe Max. Yeah, and it was big.
It was big, hey?
And you were the only one that had the inside reef strategy, which was brilliant because
they
you were the
went
only
back-
one that got two brides. Because
They
it
went
was
out the back, they all got cleaned up.
it was second reef, you know,
Yeah.
and they would get some good ones, but they were just big, fat, mushy, and they weren't really connecting into the inside.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there watching you, thinking, "Wow, this kid's really hanging it out," you know, because there were a lot of wash-throughs too. And I remember seeing you take one that was already breaking and letting the foam hit you and push you into the wave, and I went, "Oh, he's going to get killed on this." And you actually, it was one of your best rides. You know, you made a brilliant takeoff, and it was
Kinda got barreled.
well. You were the only one that got barreled in that final, and that's what it was. The Pipe Masters, a tube riding contest,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I was so stoked to meet you then on that year. I was like, wow. You were like, "Hey, champ," and I was like,
well, that was quite an accomplishment.
"Oh, thank you, Gerry." Just a couple of more questions. Have you your worst wipeout at Pipeline?
No,
Was
there's been a
hold
lot
on,
of
There's
them.
been a lot.
Try
I
not
mean,
to remember.
Yeah, you wouldn't.
Yeah.
We don't see many of them. All we just see is those beautiful soul arch bottom churns and tube rides. We don't see your wipeouts.
Yeah,
I'm sure
you
you've had
know,
some.
the Pipeline, as beautiful as it is sometimes, can be pretty vicious and mean at others. And a lot of guys have paid dearly. You know,
Yeah.
I had one wipeout where and it was actually on the very inside, just coming into the beach. It was the year Michael Ho won with the cast.
Oh, with the cast on,
his
yeah.
arm. And we went out after the contest. It was
Really
some
good.
pretty nice pipe.
Yeah.
And caught a few waves, you know, and then it was getting late. And I caught one in, caught a big set wave, rode it all the way in, was right in front of the beach park, just riding a little whitewater. And there was a big beach, you know, and the backwash hit the board and it flipped upside down, threw me up in the air, and I landed right on the board. And the fin went
In.
right in, all
Right
the
in.
way, pierced my colon,
Whoa.
and broke off.
And the fin broke off in you?
Not in me, but
Then it broke.
when I saw the board afterwards, I went, "Wow, the fin's broken in half." You know, that
Wow.
was a single fin.
And that just happened on the shorey.
Just right off the beach, you know, I swam in, and that was a bad wipeout.
Stitches? Like,
Well,
So
yeah,
many.
no, I mean, a pierced colon is pretty major. You know, I had major surgery. I had to wear a colostomy for
oh no,
about 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
Yeah.
Wow, boy. So, Gerry, what year did you start lightning bolt surfboards?
Lightning bolt surfboards, Jack Shipley and I started in 1970, the summer of 1970. And we were both working for another fella at a shop called Surfline Hawaii.
Okay.
And he was quite a taskmaster. And we thought, yeah, we can
Do it on our own.
yeah. And right then, you know, the original surf shop in Honolulu, Dick Metz started with Hobie Alter in the early 60s, and it had gone through several owners, and the owner then was fed up. That was right kind of in the transition from the longboards to the shortboards. And you know, the big companies in California were having a hard time kind of keeping up with the designs of shortboards because they kept changing every time, you know, we made one. And that wasn't working. To have boards built in California, which took time, ship them to Hawaii. By the time they got here, they were, you know,
Wrecked.
something new was. So he just went, I'm closing up. And he asked Jack and I, you know, I'll sell you the lease, all the fixtures, pretty much a song, you know. And we went, ooh, okay. So, you know, we got in there and we started the shop, and we did all right.
How did you get the name Lightning Bolt?
Oh, I used to doodle, you know, as I was talking on the telephone, and I draw these lightning bolts on, draw surfboard shapes and draw things on them. And
While you're on the phone.
the lightning bolt kind of looked pretty good, and so Jack's wife said, well, why don't we call it Lightning Bolt? And we went,
Perfect.
okay. And, you know, we'd answer the phone and say, Lightning Bolt surfboards, and the guy would go, or we'd say Lightning Bolt, and the guy would go, oh, I was looking for the surf shop, and hang up, you know.
I thought you were the electricity company or something.
Something, you know. But, you know, over the years,
Caught on, didn't it? Very catchy
became,
name. You still got it?
Nah.
Nah.
No, we ended up selling it.
Selling it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, let's move on to Indonesia.
Yeah.
You were one of the first to pioneer Indonesia. You went to G-Land way back in the day. You must have been one of the first to go there. You and Peter McCabe.
Yeah.
Who else? Mick Boyum?
Mike Boyum.
Mike Boyum, sorry, yeah.
Yeah, Bill Boyum.
How was
Yeah,
that? How did you get to G-Land? I mean, well, first tell us when you went to Bali. I
Well,
mean,
you know, I was
why did you go to Bali? Did
at
you
the
hear?
Bells contest one year,
Okay.
and Jack and a couple of mates had a health food restaurant there called the Summer House, right in Torquay. And in the bathroom, there was this picture of Wayne Lynch on the bathroom wall there, kind of up high, you know, in this nice barreling wave. And I'm looking at this picture and I'm going, well, he's just in a pair of boardies, you know?
Where is it?
That's not here. And Jack said it's Uluwatu in Bali, and I go, we're going, man.
We're going.
And so he had gone the year before with Wayne and,
Yeah.
and Nat, and that was 1973 when they went. This was 74, and so we took some talking, but we got Jeff Hackman to come with us, and we went across, and it was like we died and went to heaven, you know.
I
There's
know. What year was that?
1974. It would have been
74.
right after the Coke contest in,
Okay. Yeah.
you know, in Sydney there, and
How was Uluwatu then? Not crowded.
it was
Nobody.
empty. Yeah.
Empty. No one.
And we
Wow.
got lost walking in the first day. You know, there are all the trails to
Yeah.
just try and get to the beach. And we ran into Mike and Bill Boyum
Mike
and
Boyum, yeah.
um,
They showed you the way?
Fred Haywood, yeah, and they knew the way, so
Yeah.
you know that we became friends and
Yeah.
got down there, and that was it.
That was it.
And then you know a few years later,
You heard about G-Land?
well, Bill had already been there,
Oh, wow.
and he said, yeah, this was quite a spot. And so we went there and went, wow. And by then, you know, the word had gotten out about Bali, and it was starting to get
Crowded
a little more
pretty quick.
crowded,
Yeah.
really quick.
Yeah.
It's close to Oz, you know. It's,
Close to Oz.
yeah, it's like California to here.
Yeah.
And so we started going across to G-Land. That was even better.
Yeah, even better. Garajigan, my goodness. In Java, one of my favourite waves in the world, like Speed Reef at high tide.
Yeah.
Incredible. So you heard about G-Land and you went there. How did you actually get to G-Land? Because it was a mission when I first went there.
It was a mission to get there, you know, nothing was set up, but Mike Boyum had decided that he really wanted to try and take a good look at this spot. So he and a couple guys went to Singapore and had a boat built, a Radden. It was a 24-foot Radden.
Okay.
And the first time we went, it was Mike Boyum, Glenn Ritchie, an Aussie,
Yeah.
and myself and Bobby Radiasa. And Peter McCabe and Terry Fitzgerald, Dickie Houle,
Oh, they came too?
Dave Michelle, they rented a Balinese turtle boat and they sailed across. It took them
From Bali?
from Bali,
Whoa.
from Benoa Harbor. It took
Yeah.
them about 12 hours
12 hours.
sailing with the wind to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And it took them 24 hours to get back.
I bet.
It took us 2 hours both ways, you know, in
In
the
the car?
motorboat.
Oh, in a motorboat?
Yeah, in the Radden. And
From, not from Singapore,
no, from
Bali.
well, we left from Jim Byron Bay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Jim Barron.
Yeah,
In a,
right
you
near
had a
the
motor.
airport.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, when the first time we got there, we anchored down the end of
Yeah.
Speed Reef there, and stayed on the boats. Of course, we weren't on the beach yet, and we could see the waves. And we got in the water the first morning, and started paddling up, you know, and started riding these waves. And every time we'd stop and sit, you'd look up the line, you'd see a better wave, you know,
All the
further
way.
up. It looked bigger, so you
Keep on paddling.
keep paddling. And then finally, you know, we got to a point where somebody looked back and went, "Wow, what happened to the boats?" And we had paddled, you know,
All the way around.
all the way around the point. And at one point, you know, as you get up there, the current
Goes
turns
up.
around and starts
Takes you
taking you up. So, you know, we went, geez, we had no idea where the lineup was, and we're
Yeah.
really pretty lost on that first trip.
Wow.
And then Mike secured permits to camp on the beach.
Oh, did you need permits?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a jungle preserve there.
Jungle Reserve.
Yeah, so you needed to actually have a permit to get in there.
Okay.
And
You got that?
the permits actually allowed him to build temporary accommodation, which were the tree houses.
Yeah, which you did.
And we did, and that was, you know, when we really started to surf
out.
G-Land,
Yeah.
because from the beach you can really
Tell.
see what a wave's doing, and you know, we figured the lineups, and
Yeah.
that's when it all started to happen. We realized we really had a much better wave than Uluwatu even.
Much better.
Yeah.
My goodness, it's true. Let's move on, Gerry, and talk about your acting career, or our acting career, because for me it was one movie and it was the North Shore, and
It
you
was
were in that
good.
movie,
Yeah,
and it was fun. I had a ball. Did you have a ball doing that movie?
it was a great
At home.
movie. It's funny how
You were the head of the Hui. What was your name again?
Vince.
Vince, that's right.
Yeah.
Vince, do you get many people coming up to you going, I love that movie?
So many.
So many.
You know,
Me too.
it's become such a cult classic.
Yeah,
They're considering making a sequel
Are
now.
they?
Yeah,
they haven't told me about that.
but yeah, it's really got its mileage
It did.
after
Yeah.
the fact, you know.
Yeah.
And I often thought that, you know, had we gotten really good waves that winter,
Yeah.
and there was some really good surf in that movie, that really would have been a blockbuster.
Blockbuster, yeah.
You know, I remember when they made Blue Crush, they got really great swell.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made that movie.
Yeah, because our movie was good, and if we had good waves, yeah, blockbuster, yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I
a
mean,
Big
it
Wednesday.
was a great story. North
Yeah.
Shore was.
Yeah.
The kid learns to surf in the wave pool,
He does.
comes to the North Shore,
We
runs
pick him
into
up.
you.
Runs into me, we pick him up. Then he has to deal with the Hui,
Yeah.
which is the Black Shorts, a surf club in Hawaii, which you don't usually or never mess with, and that's a classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the other movies you've done? Conan and the Barbarian, was that a hard movie, and how long did that take to make?
Yeah, the first, you know, my first introduction to Hollywood was making the film Big Wednesday, which
Big
was
Wednesday. That was a blockbuster.
really the first true Hollywood movie that was true to surfing. I mean, the Hollywood surf movies before that were, Gidget,
Yeah.
Beach Blanket Bingo, and those things are kind of hokey.
Yeah.
I mean, they had surfers and surfing sequences, but Big Wednesday was, very authentic.
Yeah.
And I met John Milius, who wrote and directed the movie.
Yep.
And we became friends. And when he had the opportunity to write and direct Conan the Barbarian with Arnold Schwarzenegger, he wrote a part in for me because the shoot was going to be 6 months in Spain, and he wanted to have a friend. So that's how I got to do that
really?
movie.
Wow.
And then after that, I did another one with John called Farewell to the King with Nick Nolte.
Okay.
And that we shot up in Borneo with an all Aussie,
All Aussie
film crew.
Film crew?
Yeah.
Wow, in Borneo.
Yeah. The
How was
same
that?
film crew that had shot the Man from Snowy River.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
That's a very famous film, that one.
yeah.
Wow, and how was it up in Borneo and to do that movie? How long did that take?
That was maybe a 3-month shoot, and that was interesting.
Interesting.
Boy, it's a rough place.
It must be.
Yeah, it's a jungle.
Yeah. Wow, wait, how's the accommodation?
Yeah. Well, they were actually pretty good.
Oh, they were good?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Hey, Gerry, in another venture of yours, you wrote a book. It's called Surf is Where You Find It. You brought that out in 2008. Where can you find it? The book?
Amazon.com.
Amazon.com?
Yeah. Or
And-
Patagonia.
Patagonia.
Yeah. Yeah, I had all these stories over the years, about surfing. I knew that I should, how you tell surf stories, great adventures, great people. And at a point you go, it's a pretty good story. I should probably write it down before I forget it.
Yeah.
And so I did. I wrote all these stories down. And I was working for Patagonia at the time, and Yvon Chouinard had come out with his book, Let My People Go Surfing. And he goes, maybe you should think about writing a book. And so Patagonia started a book division in the company, and we produced my book. And it's still selling.
Still selling?
I mean, I think
Fantastic.
it's going through the maybe 5th or 6th
Reprint
reprinting right now. Yeah.
Epic.
And it's just
Cool.
a bunch of surf stories about
Yeah.
the times, the places, the people, which are always so great. But surfing has a lot of wisdom and a lot of lessons
Yeah.
to learn, and if you're paying attention. And sometimes I did, a lot of times I didn't. But that was kind of what that book was about, the subtle lessons that surfing teaches us. And right now I'm in the process of writing another book about the deeper lessons
Oh,
that
okay.
surfing teaches
Deep
us.
as in, yeah, like
Deeper-
taking choices,
Well,
life choices.
yoga has been something that I've been practicing for a long
time.
Yeah. And
How long?
started in 1968.
68? Wow.
And I always thought it was a very complementary path in life to the surfing path,
Yeah.
and that they were more or less parallel. But I've come to the conclusion at this point in life that maybe they're the same path, and that they have a lot more in common than
People think.
any of us thought before. And
Yoga
so,
is keeping you to be able to still surf.
well, I hope.
It must be.
Yeah.
Because how old are you now?
I'm 69.
69.
Yeah.
Still surfing, still snowboarding,
Still surfing, yeah.
still surfing regular boards. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's incredible. Making boards. It's got to be I think you'd have to be one of the wisest men in surfing. I'm thinking you and Gordon Merchant are the two wisest men I know in
Well,
surfing.
I don't know about that. But I still read a lot.
You still read a lot?
Yeah, and I remember a lot of the good things that I read.
Yeah. What about you went to Kelly Slater's pool? How was that?
I did.
Was that cool?
You haven't
left.
been?
I have not.
Oh, you got to go.
I'm building a pool too.
One like it?
No, nothing like it. We're building one up in northern Queensland, and it's a different system. We've got a big system in the middle that goes up and down, so we're creating 8 waves in the pool, breaking at the same time. Different shaped reefs. It's called surf lakes, and they're not as long as Kelly's, but they're really punchy, and they wrap, and yeah.
Wow.
8 waves in the pool, and we can make like 20 wave sets too.
Well, any wave will do.
Any wave will do, eh?
Yeah.
Isn't it cool? Do you like that?
But-
Do you like that, the way it's going in wave pools?
You know, I didn't know what I was thinking. Obviously, it's been around a long time. I mean, when we made North Shore, that was the
that
whole
little wave
story.
in Allentown in Pennsylvania. I competed in one. There was on the tour once in the 80s. We went to
Right,
Allentown, Pennsylvania, and it was only that big. So I mean, they've been around for a while, but with the technology now,
But,
they
you know,
can make perfect waves.
The
I mean, Kelly's
wave
done
in North Shore, Big Surf, Arizona,
Yeah,
that was built in the mid-60s.
mid 60s that wave pool.
Yeah, that was how far
Incredible.
back it went.
Mm.
And, you know, as surfing has grown and become so big now, and, you know, you have a finite number of surf spots, the future may very well be wave pools,
Wave
you know,
pools.
to accommodate all the
Accommodate.
surfers. And obviously, when you see the wave at Kelly's pool, and I, you know, had the great good fortune to be able to surf it, and I can tell you for sure, it's an awesome wave.
It's an awesome wave.
Yeah, I mean, there's no surfer on the planet that would say,
It's
"Oh,
not
that
an
wave's
awesome wave. No.
not any good." That wave is
It's good.
is really good.
It looks good.
I mean, exceptionally good, and very challenging too. It's really, really fast. You know?
Yeah.
But if they can build a wave like that, they can certainly build one bigger or longer. And you know, yours sounds really great too because there's more of them.
Yeah, more different waves, and it's the way of the future.
It may be.
Let's talk. And what about the WSL? When we're talking about that, do you watch many of the events?
I do. I
You
watch
do?
them all. They
You
do
watch them all.
such a good job.
They
I
do
mean,
do it, yeah.
I love it. You know,
Yeah, I love it too.
It's.
I was really
it's-
wondering if you did. Yeah, you watch them all. Yeah.
No, it's taking it to a whole nother level, and I think that's even going to make it more valid that why we need wave pools, because there's going to be more surfers. They're going to see this and go, I want to surf, you know, and it's good. They're doing a
It's
really,
good.
really great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What advice would you give yourself if you could when you're 18 years old, if you know what you know now?
Pay a little better attention to everything in life. You know, be a little kinder. Think about things before you open your mouth, or before you jump off the edge a little bit better. You know, there's the brashness and enthusiasm of youth that a lot of times just gets you into places where you go, oh man, why did I do that? But, you know, I mean, life is what it is, and in the end, if you can say, hey, it's been great, I got no regrets, then that was a good life.
Oh, well, it's been great having a chat, Gerry. Thank you so much. It's an
Thanks,
honour.
Occy.
And it's so good to
Likewise.
see you again. But is there any chance we can just go down there and do a couple of yoga
I can teach you to
positions?
stand on your head
Could
real
you?
quick. Yeah.
I'll try.
You
I mean, yeah.
Standing on your head is
That's the king pose, right?
that's the king
I
of
did-
all asanas, and
Yeah.
regular practice, the headstand will
Yeah.
improve your intellectual power and your memory.
I do need that.
We all do.
To see you do that headstand, and I can't cross my legs.
I think you can do it too.
You reckon?
But,
Well, I'll try, but
Let's do an arm balance. It's called Bakasana or crow pose.
Okay.
And
you know, I can maybe do the dog pose.
an arm balance builds strength.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're gonna come up on our toes, walk our toes forward,
Yeah.
stick our knees right into our armpits. Now
Yeah.
keep your head up. Spread those fingers wide. Just keep the head up. Don't let the head fall.
It's almost like the dog pose, isn't it?
That's it.
And you're up.
Lift up. And then when you're done, you can gently, core strength, there you go. Good job. So that's headstand.
That's good. Can we do some breathing? Thank you so much, Gerry. Thank you. Really
Sweet
appreciate
as
that.
mate.
God, there's too many jellyfish.
It's such a wonderful ride. It's such a wonderful